This is a presentation that I gave as part of a Pachaka event at the Slowdown in Omaha, and again for a luncheon for the Omaha chapter of the International Association of Business Communicators.
Thank you, and hello. So we are going to talk about design today, but not in a way that you might expect. We are going to talk about how to design the life that you love. So when we're kids, we think that anything is possible. When you ask a child, what do you want to be when you grow up, you're just as likely to hear the president or astronaut as doctor or lawyer. And as adults in their lives, we reinforce that idea that they can really do anything. But as we get older, we get more realistic. We begin to be faced with the reality of managing our finances, going to school, working, families, all of those responsibilities, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. We start to think that time is limited, and we decide that maybe we don't need to dream big. Instead, we're settling for whatever is good enough. But what if we held on to that possibility that anything was possible? What if instead of thinking, well, I could never do that, we started to think, well, why couldn't I do that? 4 years ago, I had what I thought was my dream job. I got paid to go to places like South by Southwest and California and Las Vegas. I made lots of money. I had a nice apartment. I had great friends, but I was really unhappy. I had achieved so much in my life at 26, but there was definitely something missing. I had wanted to travel, so I was working on saving money, trying to figure out how that would happen. And I, by chance, maybe not by chance, ran into a group of Australians at South by Southwest who invited me to come and visit them in Australia. And then through another string of, we can say coincidences, but I don't think so, I met a friend of a friend who had been living in Australia. I found out about a visa and an opportunity, and 6 months later I had sold all of my things and I was on a one-way flight to Sydney, Australia. So that's great. This is an awesome story, but what does it have to do with you? So my point here is really that this wasn't some spectacular thing that only I could accomplish. If I could do this, this is something that you could do too. So maybe your dream isn't traveling around the world, but whatever it is, maybe if you start to think about the possibility of it actually happening, then that can be a starting point to move forward. So if we start to think, instead of like, I wish I could do that, that if we make a choice, we can do that. We just have to kind of take into account the sacrifices we have to make to accomplish that and decide, is it worth it to us? So we create our choice or our lives one choice at a time, and really one thought at a time. As our thoughts start to become things, we have to pay attention to the conversations that we have with ourselves, because when we're saying, oh, you know what, like, that's just too crazy, I couldn't do that, well, surprise, you're not going to be able to do it. But when you start to think, like, maybe you can, then you introduce that possibility that maybe you can. So it really starts with mindfulness, with meditation. You need to start to go inward, even just 5 or 10 minutes a day, but begin to see what comes up. Like, what have you been pushing down as you've been rushing around through your life so busy? You can start to use this time to develop your intuition and sort of that gut instinct that ultimately, when we follow that, is going to lead us to the most fulfilling choices and the most fulfilling life. We also need to begin to cultivate the practice of living in the present moment. So letting go of those things that have already happened in the past. We can use our breath as a really powerful tool to help bring our awareness into the present moment. When you begin to pay attention, just observing the inhale and the exhale, then you are paying attention. Your awareness is in this present moment. So also, we need to be open. We need to pay attention to kind of those signs that the universe sends us. We think about coincidence, but think about those times in your life where things just like seem to fall into place. You know, you're meeting the right people or you're in the right place at the right time. When we're so busy not paying attention to what's going on at all, then we miss those signs, those opportunities. So it's important to slow down to be able to recognize them. So also, surrendering this idea of control. We spend so much of our time, of our energy, trying to control this person, this situation, something that we think is going to happen in the future, something that has already happened in the past. But it's all wasted energy because the only thing we can control is ourselves, our thoughts, our actions. So thinking about refocusing where you're spending your time and energy. And no, okay, so fantastic. I sold my stuff, I traveled around the world, I got married, I started a business. It all sounds like fantastic and romantic, but it was really hard. So know that like this isn't necessarily going to be an easy process to seek out like your most fulfilling life and to follow your dreams. Like it's really hard. It requires lots of sacrifice and lots of commitment. So you just have to be prepared and know that some things are worth fighting for. Rely on like your support from maybe your family or other people around you. That was a huge source of inspiration for me. I definitely couldn't have done it at all by myself. But most importantly, the thing that we can really do to start putting ourselves on the path right now to being happier, to being more successful, is to start to really practice gratitude and appreciation. So the moment that we start to recognize all of the wonderful things that are around us right now, you instantly become happier without having to do or acquire any more things. So you can start maybe with a practice of a gratitude journal, maybe taking a few moments every day to write down some things that you are grateful for in your life right now. So I'll tell you, or I'll share with you this gratitude quote that I really love. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, and confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. So at the end of the day, the thing that we can do to really transform our lives is to go back to thinking big, to stop limiting yourself with your own beliefs that you have acquired throughout your life as you grow up and decide to be more realistic. So decide what you want, drop the self-doubt, and go for it, knowing that fear kills more dreams than failure ever did. So you are worth it. You deserve it. What are you waiting for? Thank you.